Welcome to The Joyous Edge, where we talk to top executives and performers about their journey, what they do when they're at their edge and breaking point, and what brings them joy in the everyday hustle.
This is the joyous edge. It's time to shine.
I'm super excited to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you're a COO at a major law firm.
Yes.
But you also have served on the board at the Association for Legal Admins for over 10 years, right?
No, I have been a member,
Okay.
but I am recently, I've recently been installed as a
board
member on the board of directors.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
It is exciting.
Love that. I've served on a couple of nonprofit boards and one for-profit, but I feel like it's one of the biggest and best ways to give back.
You know, I didn't know what I was in for, right? Because it's a new role. And being on a board, you really see the organization in a different light.
Right.
Good or bad, but from my experience, it's been really great.
Right.
So I moved into the role in December, and now I'm kind of up to my knees, right, in the role.
Yeah.
And it's been really good because you see that the leadership actually really care about the members.
Right.
And their decisions, whether the members think so or not,
Right.
are really for the benefit of the members. So it's been a wonderful ride so far.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is definitely one of the things that I think a lot of people out there, when they think about executives and they think about leadership, they're like, oh, they just care about the bottom line. They don't care about us. They're just doing, especially nonprofit, they're doing this for a tax write-off. Right. And every board that I've been a part of and board members that I've spoken with, they truly, they are curious and ask really good questions because they want to know what's going on and they want to know how they can help make it better, but not force the executives to do something. You know, they want to get them on board with the vision, and it really helps, I think.
And I think with my personality, I also challenge them.
I love it. Yeah, of course.
Why are we doing it this way? And is it really benefiting the members, or because the board members rotate all the time? Right. Is it for our benefit as a board, or is it really for the benefit of the organization?
I love that. And that's such a great point that a lot of leaders need to be able to do, is challenging challenging themselves, challenging their peers.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that I've seen within boards and within executive leadership is a lot of people, when they rise to that level, especially when they're first starting out, they're afraid to speak up. And they got to where they are because, they did well at what they're doing, but they really are there as an advisor, and to try to take that step back. That's one of the things that I always try to instill in all my clients and my mentees is, you got to take that step back to say, what is the big picture? Right. What is that purpose? Am I on board with the vision and mission and purpose? And I think that's one of those things that, it's so great to see that you're able to do that at the board level.
Thank you. And I also really appreciate these platforms, the one that you're creating, Joy, because being in a smaller firm, I came from a larger firm, but being in a smaller firm, it gets lonely, right? And you don't know if you're making the right decisions for the individuals and the organization, because you have to take all of that into consideration. Right. So these platforms give me an opportunity to see what's going on, what other people are challenged with, how they're sacrificing their time, their effort, maybe their family in some respects, and maybe sometimes even a bit of their character, right? So hopefully that's not all the time, but it gives us an opportunity to have that community.
Yeah. That's so true. And I'd love that you bring up the small versus the large institutions, because for me personally, I've been at that startup-y feel type vibe. I've been at the global significant bank size. I've been a consultant, and even as a consultant, I worked with very small institutions to, the top institutions in the US and in the world. And what I find is there's a lot of similarities as far as what people are feeling, as far as feeling alone or isolated. But in the smaller institutions, you may not get, or you don't get, exposure to what's really going on in the world and in similar situations unless you're a part of volunteer organizations and associations. You know, I know there's the American Bankers Association from a financial services perspective. There's a ton of them. Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of them, and I like what they provide from the option of being able to talk about things in a safe space and not worry about getting any regulatory issues or, you know, just being able to talk openly about what are we doing here? How do we do this? And I know, you know, some of our listeners, when they start out, they're like, oh, I can't ask questions. I can't do this. I can't challenge that. And so hearing you as a board member, you know, being able to give the okay to challenge. And I think people hear leadership say, oh, challenge us, you know, let's have like a good challenge. But they're like, yeah, right. They don't really mean that. Like, what are we doing? You know,
it's the trust and verify.
Exactly.
Scenario,
it's like when somebody says, are you having a good day? Yeah, I'm having a great day. Well, my house is burning down behind me. You know, it's like, yes, everything's great. Everything's wonderful. And so I think, you know, the truth is it's not saying share all the problems or share every pain that you're experiencing. What it's saying is if you're experiencing something, if you're having a problem, try to take a step back from it, have that moment of clarity, and try to think about what are possible solutions to it. You know, the board could give you money. Yeah, we could get a partnership with someone to fix it. Thinking through some of those things and then presenting options to the board to say, here's what I've researched, here's what I've looked at, and here's how I've been able to, this is one that I would recommend. Now, they may not go with your choice and you can't get offended, but you know, at least you have to present them with the options.
Absolutely, that is your role.
Right.
You're an advisor, as you mentioned earlier.
Right.
When I came to Georgia 5 years ago, and I started this role as the director of administration. And I intentionally became very embedded in things outside of my job description, outside of administration. And so maybe October of last year, I wrote a quick proposal, and I said, I would really like for you to consider changing my title.
Wow.
Because I have integrated myself into all aspects of this law firm. It's no longer about administration, it's about operations. And would you support my title change to COO?
That is awesome. So you spoke up for yourself.
Absolutely.
That is so good. Yeah. And what did it feel like when you were doing that?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was terrified. Like, who am I to ask for this position? They've never had a COO in the past.
Right.
And they said, absolutely. And I came at that from a place of respect for leadership. And I had created an environment where they really trusted me. And
That's
so
awesome.
I think there's some heavy lifting in the beginning, but once you've done all of that, absolutely advocate for yourself.
And who did you talk to about that when you were considering it? Like before you even went to them and went to leadership and said, hey, I want this. Did you have a support network? What did you do to make the decision?
No, interestingly, I was on a plane.
Oh my goodness.
And I was talking to a gentleman sitting next to me who was in the medical industry. And we were just talking careers, right? And he said, well, what's next for you? And I said, I think I have a COO in me. And he said, I think so too. Aww. And that just got me thinking.
That is so awesome.
And I started using AI and looking up responsibilities of a COO in an organization. Kind of what could I do to create this position within the organization? And I realized I'm doing all this stuff already. Yeah. So I'll just go for it. And I did.
That is so great. So it wasn't even like I'm thinking you had this like personal board of people, and no, you're like, no, I met this random guy on the plane,
Random.
but that to me is like God shining through, saying like,
Absolutely.
okay, you need to really do this,
That's
and
right.
just I'm going to speak to this.
I agree.
That is totally awesome.
I agree.
So, what is having serving on the board, what has that taught you that's different from serving in an organization or, serving in the law firm?
Sure. I think what it does, when we have board meetings, and, I can't discuss the content, but
course.
there is a level of respect for each other I'll have to admit, that's different than being in a conference room with 17 partners.
Right.
So before we ask a question, if it's virtual, we raise our hand on the screen, or we raise our hand in the conference room. Each person is given a turn. We don't speak over each other. There is just a level of professionalism.
Love that.
And it's not to say things aren't professional in other areas, but there is an intentional way of being professional in the conference room that's different from what I experience. Because when I'm in a conference room with 17 partners, they're just going to talk.
Right.
And sometimes I have to say, can you give me a minute?
Right.
My thought isn't complete.
Right.
You can speak after I'm done, right?
I love that. Speaking up for yourself.
And so it taught me that I have to wait. And normally I don't like to wait, Joy.
Oh, I get that. For me, I was like late diagnosed ADHD, and I'll just I get excited and I'll just jump in. So to your point, I've had to learn to bite my tongue. You'll see me go or thinking through or something like that, trying to hold back because of the excitement. It's not that I want to be rude, or if somebody's a slow talker and I don't want to interrupt.
Yes.
And so I'm like, wait 5 seconds, think, count to 5 in your head and make sure that you're that they're done, because it's not a bad thing that they're a slow talker, but sometimes you're like, oh, they finished.
Right.
But you have to be self-aware enough to say, no, they aren't done.
Right.
And maybe their brain isn't moving as fast as mine.
Right.
And it's not that it's not moving as fast. That's not a nice way to say it, but it's more so they're thinking differently.
Absolutely.
My brain connects here and connects there and is just all over the place, just making connections. And so I'm constantly going to vision, current state, and trying to think through how does this align? So as somebody's talking, I'm thinking through what's the path to get there, almost like a maze, right? What could be the blockades? And coming from risk and compliance, I'm always like, what are the risks? What are the potential challenges here? How can we make this happen? How can we not? So, thinking through some of that stuff, it's interesting.
Yeah. I think the other thing is my role on the board is temporary. It's going to be 3 years.
Awesome.
So how can I make the biggest and best impact in those 3 years? And so the whole stepping back scenario, you have to step back and make sure that you are not walking through a meeting or a conference or something like that and making an error where you believe you may be able to make up for that later. Right? If that makes sense. You kind of have to be on top of things because you know that this is a short window for people to see what you are made of.
That's a great way to look at it. I think one of the things that I do like about having those term limits especially on the nonprofit boards, is, to your point, it does give you that ability to say, I'm here for 3 years. I'm going to do what I can during this time. It doesn't mean I'm going to check out and just do it to tick the box. But what it means is I've got to set this up so that somebody else can continue it, moving it slowly moving it forward and just step right in
You're
when I
constantly
leave.
succession planning.
Exactly.
Yeah, constantly. And
love
so I bring that back to my day to day in the firm as well. It gives me an opportunity to really look around the office
Right.
and see where I can make my best and biggest impact. Kind of thinking about short term, right? And especially with AI,
Oh, yeah.
things are changing almost weekly.
course.
So, what is the impact that we can make with this tool, with this platform, over this short period of time that will add the biggest value to our employees and the firm?
So talking about that, what are some of the things that you've done from an AI perspective, and how do you think executives can leverage the AI to help them?
Yeah, I think, everyone says that we are looking at AI as a tool for production.
Right.
But I think what also happens is we have created a culture where if you look at someone's calendar and you have blank space, right, you think they aren't doing
Exactly.
anything. AI is going to create more of those blank spaces because you're going to be able to produce things faster,
Correct.
more effectively. So as leaders, I would challenge leaders to value the thinking piece of AI as well as the production piece.
That is such a great point, because a lot of leaders, I'm used to creating things from scratch. It's like I'm given this vision and it's like, okay, how do I break this elephant down into bite-sized pieces so I can get there? What's the timeline? How am I going to get there? And one of the things that I do love about AI is, to your point, like, you can use it to go in and check. Like, I use it on my emails to say, help me clean out my emails. Like, what can I do? Like, what is all the spam and, thing, not even just spam, but newsletters, articles, I want to stay on top. And I think a lot of people they want to stay on top of what's going on in the industry. So they sign up for different newsletters, and the next thing you know, like, your whole box is newsletters and you don't have, it's
anything substantive.
Right. And so, like, I use rules in my emails, and I have that send. So then that way, to your point, you can be intentional about, I'm checking email during this block of time. I'm going to do my reading of my industry articles here. And that helps you stay on top of it. But at the same time, you're able to block that time.
Yeah, we believe that time is the greatest resource, but I think the uninterrupted attention that you give to someone, I think that's a better resource.
I agree.
And so when you have the opportunity, and in my firm, in most law firms, the billable hour is the thing, right?
Yes.
But I do my best thinking in the shower,
Right.
or if I go for a walk or whatever. We can measure activity as the bottom line, as revenue, but it's hard to measure that creative piece, that thinking piece. And I think AI is going to challenge leaders to value that other part of the human more than the productive piece.
If you're a senior leader who keeps saying yes because it feels easier than slowing down to prioritize, you're not alone. I work with leaders who are operating at a high level but paying for it with burnout, overwhelm, and self-abandonment. When you get clear on what actually matters, everything elevates. Your impact, your focus, your legacy, and your peace of mind. If you're ready for that kind of clarity, I'd love to talk. Book a free call with me at freejoycall.com.
I think that's a great takeaway, because so many of us can get sucked in with all the other distractions and all the alerts and notifications and not really take that time to yourself.
Right.
AI is giving us the ability to be intentional about our time, so it'll help free up time to do other things.
Right.
And that way we can really get that focus time back.
And AI also is becoming this quiet equalizer is what I like to call it. Most people won't believe this, but I'm an introvert. And
I get it. Me too. So just so you know, I know that I come out very open, but we were just talking about this on another episode where everybody's like, oh, you're an extrovert. There's no way you're an introvert. I recharge on my own time.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I call it my joy hour or my joy block. And my family knows that I'm like, I need some joy time.
Yeah.
And they don't get offended because I'm like, I need to, even if it's just going and sitting in a room and breathing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to do that.
Absolutely. And I think for us introverts who are competent, even brilliant, sometimes it doesn't come out in our performance.
Yeah, that's
right?
fair. That's fair.
And so AI, I know for me, has made me a better writer. It has given me a bit more courage to get out there and tell people what I know. So the performance is now matching the competence.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because, sometimes I can be very direct in my feedback, but it's never, I always tell my team, please don't be offended because I have no malice here. I want to make you, my goal is to help make my team and me better. And if you're not pushing that comfort zone, if you're not uncomfortable, you're never going to grow. Right. And so I always want to grow. I want to be learning every day. And one of the things that I love about AI is it is that critic without being offensive. And it's not even about being offensive, but judgy. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, because so many people, if I get feedback from a certain person, I'll be like, they just don't like me. Or, not me personally, but people will be like, oh, she just wants my job. Or she just is jealous because I have a good relationship with this person. AI doesn't care.
No.
And it's going to be honest and say, based on what it knows in the Ethernet, And so I love that because, to your point, anybody can do anything now. And so really you have to think about what brings you your joy and what gives you that purpose, because if you're not living aligned to that, then you're not living.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're just existing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I use AI a lot in operations of a 35 attorney law firm. There are a lot of hats and cats and that I have to herd and things I have to do. And some of I'll tell you my best use case.
Okay, I love this.
There's an attorney in my office. He's not very responsive.
Okay.
So I use AI to create an email that goes to him every Monday morning at 10 a.m.
I love it.
That asks, what's the status of this thing that he hasn't gotten back to me on. So I think I'm going to double down and now change it to go to him twice a week.
Love that.
We'll see if it works.
That is so great, because I never would have thought about scheduling the emails to go out. I actually draft my own. So now actually I might start using AI to do that instead rather than going and scheduling it and being because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll schedule my emails, and if I'm working in the night, I don't, that's one of the life hacks for me is I've learned you shouldn't be emailing people at all hours of the night, right? Yes. Because then it puts this undue pressure on your team. So
to respond.
Right. And so you've got a schedule delay and do that. But ultimately, I love that idea of leveraging AI from that perspective.
It hasn't worked yet, though.
Oh, it hasn't. Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe we can get an AI bot to go and knock on his door and be like, "Hey, how am I doing this?"
Exactly. I think AI has helped me with minimizing burnout. Right.
Okay, great.
I am a scheduler. When I went on vacation, my husband and I, with our kids when they were younger, I had an A folder, B folder, and C folder. I love it. Right?
You speak to my heart. That's one of my love languages.
These are the places we're gonna see if everyone is up to it in A. Right. This is an alternative schedule. This is another schedule.
Yes.
And so my responsibilities keep me from being that person. Right. And AI has helped.
I love that.
With that. And so I'm not waking up at night, literally I had a pad next to my bed. I'd wake up and whatever I was thinking, I'd write it down, right?
I love
so
that.
I wouldn't forget it.
Yeah.
But now I can just say, you know, put this on my calendar.
Right.
I need to deal with this at 10 a.m. tomorrow or at 2
Great.
p.m. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I love that you talk about the vacation part, because one of my sisters and I travel a lot. Like we travel a lot together, and we make a great travel thing, because she'll just be like, well, at first when we started, it was like, she's like, I just like to go with the flow. I want to relax on the beach. And I'm like, planned out 8 a.m. yoga. Sit down. I'm like, well, wait, what? Like, can I get my schedule? How do I have, because I was so used to being scheduled and on time and, you know, and what I found was what we do is we take those rocks. Like, she's like, okay, what is 1 to 2 events or things that we want to do today? The rest of the trip, we can do whatever and go with the flow. But we will have these 1 or 2 blocks. So I may schedule my own time and get some of that, because like scheduling her day from 8 to midnight does not work. She's like, well, I'm sure she's really good at scheduling too, but she's like, let's get these blocks. And then that way, I'm like, I love it. So we travel very well together, because she gets me to like loosen up and just relax and like go with the flow, where I was, to your point, like just so wound up that I'm like, okay, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I literally had like half hours planned out. And she's like, Joy, let's go with the flow.
And then I would wonder why the kids looked miserable. They were we're doing something again?
Right. And then it's like you have, especially if you go on a cruise, because we did a cruise, like the Disney cruise to, I don't know, the Fantasy, whatever, to their islands. And I went into the planner, because they have all the things that you can select. And I had something back to back. I'm like, well, this overlaps by half hour. She's like, Joy, take a step back.
That's right. That's right.
And it's that eagerness of like, oh, I want to try everything. You get the FOMO. I want to do it all.
That's right.
So yeah, no, I love that. That is so funny. But well, I want to talk about what is, you know, just our last question.
Yeah.
What is it that brings you joy?
Oh.
And you can talk about life and work, or one or the other, whatever you want.
If I'm being very honest,
Yes, please
it's
do.
the transition. What brings me true joy is the transition between work and home.
Really? So can you elaborate a little bit there?
So when I go into the office, and I do go into the office 4 to 5 days a week,
Okay.
it is nonstop.
Yeah.
Someone knocking on the door, dealing with this, you know, approving payroll, working on policies, dealing with personnel issues.
A lot.
So I work to ensure that when I'm leaving for the day, I feel accomplished.
I love that.
So that transition of getting into my car, and I'm from Northern California, so
I love it.
people in Atlanta complain about traffic, and I just kind of chuckle a bit inside, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, it's all relative.
Right.
And my commute home is about an hour, and I call family and I talk to them. And when I get home, I intentionally cook, probably 4 to 5 days a week. It's my downtime, it's my sanctuary. It's
love that.
enjoying that time at home with my husband and my dogs. But it's that transition.
I love that you call it a transition, because it's really, you're not shutting the door on work, but what you're doing is you're kind of making that check in your head of, okay, I can deal with this stuff, but I'm actually going to enjoy that. I love, like, it's all about how you look at things. And I love that you mentioned the traffic thing, because it brings me back to when I was driving a lot in Northern Virginia to and from work. I'd have anywhere from a 20 minute to hour commute. And to your point, I use that time to call people, to catch up, to listen to my podcast, to educate myself. So I transitioned from hating traffic to using it as some of my joy time or my catch-up time. And it's funny, because I would call people and they're like, but you're driving, you got to focus on the road. I'm like, no, I am focused, but I'm talking to you like you're sitting next to me in the car, right? And now you have my almost undivided attention,
Yeah.
just being able to focus on that. And so I love that you call it a transition. That is such a key point. It's like that mindset shift. So, well, thank you so much for joining
was
us
a
here today. It
pleasure.
has been so great hearing your story
Thank
and
you.
sharing with our community. And I look forward to seeing how things work for you on the board.
And you are doing a wonderful, wonderful thing, getting
you.
People together to talk about their experiences as well. And I wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe. All the information can be found in the show notes. And until next time, keep your joyous edge. See you next week.